Hello and welcome back to the Letting Love Lead podcast. I'm Geoff Newton here with my lovely panel of coaches, facilitators, people who, all of them have worked with people one-on-one and in groups, either online or as a workshop leader, retreat facilitator, so on and so forth. And this podcast is dedicated to helping you if you want to do the same thing at a higher level, whether that means you're already in a role as a coach, a facilitator, body worker, therapist, anything in the healing arts, you could say, or if you aspire to be, even if you haven't got a certification or a training in it yet. Either way, if you want to have what's inside of you come out and reach more and more people as you deliver your message, your inspiration, your help, your service to the world, this is a place where we want to take you on the journey of the roadblocks, questions, struggles, and things that work on our journey so that we're having the conversation out loud and together. So you're not alone. And today, like I said, I'm Geoff. We'll go around and introduce everyone who's here. And Birte, how are you today?
I'm great, actually.
Thank you. Nice to have you here. We've got Lionel.
Hello. Yeah, I'm doing great. Excited.
Nice. And Marcy's here.
Marcy, and yeah, so far so good, but it's because it's the beginning of my day, so nothing's gone too wrong yet.
Right, because Marcy's in the US, and I think the rest of us live in Europe right now.
Yeah.
So that's the time swing, the swing into time zones. And then we've got Lara.
Hello, in Amsterdam.
Yeah, welcome, Lara. All right, so we've got a topic to start with, just like last week, and we'll kind of just go in the flow from there. But the place I'd like to start is, and the context for it, for me wanting to talk about it is, I work for, so you know, but the people watching and listening might not know, I work with coaches, facilitators to help them with, like we were saying, this podcast is dedicated to help them with their business. And as I talk to people lately, there's a theme I'm seeing coming up in the conversation, and I'm trying to find my words here. As I talk to people and they're bringing to me the different situations going on in their interactions with their clients, or if they're trying to write an email to send someone, or if they're thinking of a product to sell, or if they're thinking more big picture of what's my message, who do I really want to work with, the same thing seems to sort of be popping up in the picture, and that is, I get a little bit of their excitement, I get a little bit of their worry, I get a little bit of their, but if people don't want that, and they might want this, and this doesn't work, and I tried that, and I'm realizing that there's this big conversation around disappointment that's happening. And so what I mean by that is, disappointment means you have to have a desire in order to get disappointed. If you're disappointed, it means you have a desire that was disappointing. And so that's a great ingredient. It means good. Disappointment is even a clue, a compass that can help us get where we want to go, because by following the trail of disappointment, I can find out what desire I really have. And I believe that desire, real desire, is your compass on your path and on your journey to being the person you want to be, serving how you want to serve, expressing how you want to express, giving what you have to give. So disappointment's welcome, but it can be a very immobilizing force. And so how do you take disappointment and make it a mobilizing force, or recover from it, or use it in a healthy way? And I'm sure we've got so much wisdom and expertise and experience and struggle with it personally, because everybody's going to deal with it in their own unique way. And so that's where I'd like to start the conversation. You can start wherever you like, whether it's you recognize it in other people or in yourself, or right away you have some comment or advice to give. It's all welcome, but who would like to start?
I'd love to share. I feel just being reminded of a moment. I was talking with you, Geoff, the other day, and you asked me to connect to what was here, like in this moment, in relationship to, I was expressing some disappointment, and it's like this reminder that we can trust everything is right here in this moment. And what does that mean for me is to bring my attention to how am I feeling in my body primarily?
Yeah.
Right? So actually feeling the impact of the disappointment on my body, like how it actually, my body actually responds through a tightening, through, could be even a nausea or, yeah, there's just so much, an intensity of some sort. And when you invited me to bring my attention to that, it just brought like this sigh, this like, this sense of that, yeah, the disappointment is connected to something important. It's not that I've gone off track, off path, or whatever. There's information in it, and it's right here in this moment. Even maybe the disappointment happened an hour ago or yesterday. It's here right now.
Yes.
And in this now moment, it has information for me.
And what do you mean by that? I'd love to hear more information for me.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, it gets me in touch with how much I care. Like, so it gets me in touch with my heart, my caring, but also it kind of pulls my energy back from the caring about what others think, right? So this, right, out there, and it brings me, it's like it pulls back my own life force back here, and feel the care, like literally, which is caring for me. Like I'm taking care of like the longings and desires that got disappointed.
Yes.
And then it's like there's it's like something, it's almost like something gets changed. The disappointment turns into something completely different. It actually turns into something big, something that is a feeling like caring, even like a sense of connection to others, to myself, in a way that I wasn't feeling when I was in the thoughts about the disappointment.
Yeah, it's definitely really palpable when you share, Lara, like the in the body process of this. And it just reminded me of how important it is to be present with what's here now. And often that's something that I think isn't, especially, spiritual world and stuff, we often talk about the importance of what shows up, but really to be aware of like everything, to me, it feels like more like you said, whenever it happened a day ago, a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, the reverberation of that is still here now, and it has information. And I think that's really important. And that's also where it can be really hard sometimes to want to get into the body and actually open up and feel that in order to use it as fuel, like you were sharing, Geoff, at the intro of this call. I think it's very important, because the other thing that came up for me when you shared that was that often these, let's say, like what we call negative emotions, can become this weight of a burden, and they become this anchor that weighs us down, because those are the things we don't want to feel again. And yet that's where all our energy and potential gets stored in and weighs us down, because we're trying to get ahead and we're forgetting that there's an anchor that's weighing us down, because we're not feeling what's actually taking place there, and using that as part of our path, to move forward. So I just wanted to bring that piece into the discussion, and that's really important. And that can be hard again to do alone. I know for me, if I were to add my piece, that it can be really hard I just find it really hard to work with disappointment alone, because that if being alone is part of the disappointment,
Yes.
then trying to work through the disappointment while being alone is disappointing. So it's just really difficult.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so good to talk about it here, because at a group level we can bring light to that discussion, like literally lightness to that discussion. So yeah.
Love the way you're talking about that, and you too, Laura. I talked to a woman the other day, and she has so much potential, and she has so much ideas, and she wants to come out with it. It's like she's like this, but she's just, well, as she explained to me, I'm so afraid of being disappointed. What if I try and it won't work? And I just kind of led her back to her body and just said, do you want the resistance of feeling disappointed? Is that bigger than what you actually, the desire to share? What, and then she felt into it, and it's like, oh no, but my desire is so much bigger. And that made her make this video when she got home. It's like, oh, I can make this this is bigger. My desire is bigger than my fear of disappointment. So yeah, it worked with her.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just, I love this when people are sharing and they have so much to share. And to me, because I'm just this one person, and when I say, like, pretend you're sharing it with others, it's like, no. Yeah. And you can just see the passion, and I really want that for them, or for everyone, to just be able to share, express. Oh, we have so much to share, all of us. Yeah.
I was thinking, Lara, when you shared, like, I just feel like I need this reminder all the time, because even though all of us have been trained in heart intelligence, we know we have these different parts, and they all show up, especially when we've said, this is where I'm going, this is what I want. And it's just, I still need that reminder, because I still realize I'm in the mindset, like just the previous week, where, okay, this weekend I'm going to be productive, I'm going to get this done, ABC, I have the agenda. And then bam, I was just hit with incredible, like, self disappointment, like something I did, and I was in that, like, it was this downward spiral, this shame trigger. And it was funny because you mentioned, I felt shame, you brought that up on our last podcast, and I was like, oh my God, it just this disappointment in self, and then the shame. But I realized the challenge is I think we forget when we say, I'm going for this, I'm setting this goal, but we bring our whole being, right? We don't bring just the mind, because my mind is saying, okay, get out of the way. I have an agenda this weekend. Yes. I have to get this done. I have, this is on my agenda. I don't have time for you. I don't have time to be disappointment. And I really don't have time for shame. Right. Like, and that's when the resistance and the frustration comes in, because it's just like, no. But just to remember that we're a whole being, right? And it isn't just our minds and our cognitive processes that are trying to move our passion into the world and move our service into the world. It's our whole being, and our being consists of all these neglected parts. So it's just, I feel like, I needed that reminder, because I could just, it's such an ingrained old habit. Yes. No, there's no time for this, because now I have to be productive. Yeah. Right. So I just loved your just even feeling, as you spoke about it, Laura, the evolution. Like, I could feel myself breathe. Like, if I even allowed space, though, for the possibility of, I don't know how you said it, but it just like the opening, so you can now be in alignment with something else. Right. But I just it's just so hard to kick that pattern of that. It's just so many years of no time, because I just have to push and commit, fulfill my commitments, no matter what it's coming up, right? And forgetting that it is part of the process, not an interruption to the process.
Yes, right? Yes. Yeah. And I'm so glad you speak to that, because earlier when Lara was mentioning feeling in the disappointment in her body, and she said, I might connect with care. In other words, there might be something to it. And one of the things that I found I didn't know in the beginning was that these neglected parts, like you just said, Marcy, they have pieces of the puzzle. Like literally they have instructions, like here's what to do next. But as long as I'm pushing them away, disappointment away, a victim part of me away, trying not to feel them, I miss out on those instructions. And my mind says, oh, I have all the answers already, let's go.
Yeah.
And then it gets frustrated because it gets sabotaged. Not really, but it feels sabotaged by these other parts. And
when it doesn't work
to them, I don't get that instruction. And it can be as literal as like knowing what my next step is. But in order to know what my next step is, I do need to feel the disappointment, which Lara said, and I agree, can draw me back into how much I care, draw me back into me and out of the mind and the agenda. And the caring itself, I find, is a transcendent force. So what I mean by that is it's not like Geoff is over here caring. I didn't decide what I care about. It happens to me. Like I care about what I care about. That's a gift from God. That's sponsored from somewhere else. But when that caring is there, it's real, it's total, and it's not a personal decision. So that transcendent caring is what this podcast is about. I call that love or caring, and this is letting love lead. How do you get out of your own way to let it lead? And this is one of the clues. Connect with all those neglected parts of you that normally you think, no, I'm going to lead. No, that's not you. You're love itself. It feels like it's you because the mind, that's just the illusion. But like Marcy's saying, if you can remind yourself, whoa, this negative emotion is part of the process. It's part of the answer. It's part of my purpose. It's not a flaw. It's not proof I can never do it. It's not in my way. It's not sabotaging me. That is like one of the most widespread misconceptions I see out there. Also with coaches who really do have a heart and love, they want to help. Yeah, the best intentions, getting in their own way, not realizing, oh, this is a welcome part of the journey of you as an expert, not even just, I should be over that by now. Now I'm the coach. It doesn't work like that. So I really love what we've hit so far in the conversation.
There's something really important I want to add to that came up when you shared that, Geoff, which two pieces, but one is, what I find really frustrating is that I see, around me. You often ask the question, which I really like, what do you see around you that's not working? And it is that cycle that you just described. And then what happens is when we don't allow ourselves to feel those parts that we consider negative and use them, and we don't use the wisdom, like Lara opened up the call with also with this wisdom that's there, then what we use that you were sharing, Marcy, from the mind to try and push and get things done doesn't work. And that feeds back into creating more disappointment, which feeds the whole cycle over again. And it just doesn't lead you to make progress that way. And it's very painful. And the other piece that I wanted to share for me, and we talked about this recently, so it's just coming up because it's so perfect in this discussion, but I noticed when you look at the astrology sometimes, which you do very well, Geoff, then I just noticed that in my astrology, in my chart, and you can probably say this better than I can, but my north node, my direction and my purpose is directly opposite to some of this pain and in this wound, which let's just call it disappointment for this discussion. And so it's linked together. It amplifies the pain because the pain and the purpose for me are inextricably linked. So I can't, so then this spiritual notion of, well, when can I get rid of the pain so that I can finally live my purpose? That doesn't work because I need to use it and transform it and become more conscious of it and use it in different ways to move forward. And so this whole idea of trying to get away from these negative emotions is just going to make it worse in that sense. So this is what I see and what I experience, and this is my part to add to that. So,
Excellent.
Nice. It makes me think of when there is that when people are talking about in like kind of law of attraction.
Oh yeah.
That when disappointment comes or when things aren't going your way, it just means that you're not in alignment, right?
Right.
That's just a little
opposite.
too
Yeah.
right. That's missing. It's missing on the fact that it's information about how to get into alignment. So there's some. I mean, it's an attempt to has some truth in it.
Yeah.
But really, it's actually over. It generalized.
Yeah.
Because I think about for myself, right? For me personally, when I connected to my disappointment and I felt it in my body, and so this is obvious because my work is, body centered, right? It's focused on opening up the sensing channels to be the direct link to our knowing. You're right. So when I got in touch with my own disappointment and felt the literally there's grief that came up, right? So even tears came up, and felt the when I really let myself feel the tears, there can be this warmth and tingling, and then I felt this sense beyond myself, right? There was that invitation to feel this moment, and I felt it from my body, which is exactly what I'm wanting to share more of.
Yeah,
right? It just brought me back into touch with exactly what I'm here to share with others, is to bring them back into this feeling, the feeling textures of this web of beingness, right?
Yes.
Which is, again, in this now moment, however you want to think of it, this now moment is filled there's air around us, and this air has something for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, Laura.
Yeah, it's making me think of, one of my pet peeves that's been growing in over the last year or so is how much is focused on mindset, right? Mindset. And so it's just, I'm really glad we're having this conversation about how important the body is, because I think that's so often overlooked. And we're told to just at how many things I look out there, other coaches, download my thing about how to change your mindset. And I realize it's not so much isn't mindset. It's our patterns trapped in our body, right? It's our nervous system. And, especially working with highly sensitive women, I realize all of that is in our wiring and is in the nervous system. And so when they're out there saying, you just need to change your mindset, you're missing a huge piece. And I just had a visceral experience of that, was it yesterday or the day before? But I've been following this work called Trauma Healing Accelerated. And so again, I was just practicing the different parts of me. And so I was moving into how would I embody? It was frustration. And it was okay, so if I wanted to express to you frustration non-verbally, what would that look like? So I realized, then I took the posture, whatever it was. And then when I amplified that, I realized though, that in that, as I'm feeling it, that more I'm accessing different information, because what comes up I start bringing to awareness these thoughts that if I was just sitting there thinking, how do I feel when I'm frustrated, wouldn't have come.
Right.
There were whole thoughts behind it that I would not have ever associated with frustration. I think it was something like I'm stuck, I can't move forward. And then the more I moved into it, a whole nother layer got revealed. It was it was also tinged with injustice, right? There was this theme of injustice and being condemned or something, but it was just so interesting because I realized it was only through accessing the body that it shines light on other layers that are not in my consciousness, right? I would not, there's a lot to tease out. So I guess other parts of me were showing up. It wasn't just, but it was just I realized that's what we have to deal with too. So it's like a bypass to just say, hey, let's all, law of attraction ourselves and align ourselves with positive thinking and get to where we're going, right? Because these pieces showed up, and they're, like you said, they're information, right? And so now maybe I can have clues as to, why, the depth of what I feel, or tease out. So what is this piece about injustice versus what is this piece around anger or frustration, right? But they all potentially, now I'm curious, right?
Yes.
So it led me to my curiosity more than like, oh, get out of the way. I don't have time for you. I have to work this weekend, right?
And what you're saying, Marcy, I really see in other people, but I'll use my own life experience as the primary, lab where I've experimented with this. And I find mindset stuff and law of attraction stuff, my evidence that it's working is that stuff starts to come up in my body. All the doubt, all the other beliefs, the day where I can't have a positive thought no matter how hard I try. Right. And then you're like, what's going on? I was doing so well, that old story. And it's like, no, this is part of the process, because I believe the deepest beliefs live in our body. So if you've got a mindset and you say, whether it's, just any positive mindset, it could be around money, it could be around being visible, it could be around being wanted, it could be around being enough. But whatever it is, finding a love partner, whatever those core beliefs that you're trying to change are, if you're using a mindset modality to change it, you'll feel the pleasure of that probably initially in your body. And then you'll think, well, mine needs my body. But in time, you're going to feel a kickback, you could say, from your body to say, but here's, like it was a computer system, but here's the data I've stored for decades. So you need to feel it to heal it. You can't go back and go, I'm not listening to the body, I'm just going to hammer with my mind, because then you'll become a mind separated from your body. And then you're like you said earlier, Marcy, so well, you're not bringing wholeness to your moment. You're not bringing wholeness to your purpose. You're not bringing wholeness to money or your relationship or yourself and your self-compassion. You're bringing a fractured human being. And that is a tremendous waste of energy, but a huge amount of suffering to feel like you're split and like you're broken, and you should be, law of attraction should have worked by now. You must be doing it wrong, and all the nonsense that comes with it. So it's working when all this other stuff comes up. And like Marcy's saying, go to the body and listen. If you want to keep your mindset stuff working, and don't be so, linear about mindset. Yeah.
But actually what you're saying is both, because when you have the right mindset, you have a direction and oh, I'm going there.
Yes.
And then all this stuff shows up, and that it really is a part of the process. So so it's like we need both.
Yes.
It's not wrong to have the right mindset, but we can't just have that.
And I would say exactly what you're saying there. To mindset extends so far that what are you afraid of? So again, just to use the things we've already talked about, if I'm afraid of negative emotions, that mindset isn't very, it's not a very strong attraction point for the law of attraction. And then I don't get to use the intelligence that's here. So mindset is absolutely part of the conversation. Even when going into the body, it's a mind that welcomes negative emotions. It's a mind that loves the body. It's a mind that trusts things are going to work out even if I slow down long enough to feel this. It's a mind that understands that I'm perfect and not broken. So even what we're talking about, there's an illusion to separate it as totally mindset and totally body. It's really everything that we're inviting you into and welcoming the body and the negative emotions and all that is a hospitable environment, right? A hospitable mindset that can cultivate the growth of your whole being, which will let love lead.
Yeah, actually, that's when I just switched my focus, because I was some years ago, I was like, oh, I want to share, and I had the right mindset, and I was like, but I didn't quite concern about my growth, or I just was like, I want to share this.
Yes.
But it wasn't quite integrated in my body, in my system. So it was like I was talking more like up here. But so when I watched some videos I made at that time, it was like, oh, okay. I didn't really embody that, and I could really feel it. So that's also part of the reason that embodiment is so important, because then it's people listen when we are sharing also our truth, and we are not perfect. So what I switched was my focus to go out to, like, what is this journey actually? What is this journey?
Yes.
Well, this is a journey for me to really create this unshakable bond with myself. And when I did that, it was like, boom, just my whole system relaxed, and I could and something just happened, just magically. It just started quite another flow in everything. And I just felt so much more relaxed, and did a lot of embodiment training. So wow, yeah, you can't. It's like you can't skip that.
Yeah.
It's not possible, I think. Yeah.
What was coming to mind listening to you was, I think a lot of coaches out there say that. I guess at the moment, I was recalling listening to Kyle Cease a couple years ago, and that whole idea about when you take your next step, before, just like basically priming yourself, like don't go into action if you're not feeling it. Like, and I remember, like, it was like this reminder, like the moment you go into the how, you're in the mind. So get out of the mind. And then so he had to make a list, like, what are the things you love doing? So when you get to the moment, like, go do one of the things you love doing. Right. And because then that's where you get out of the mind, right? You're doing what you love, and you're letting that lead, right? So go, go take a hike. But I realize still, like, how much I still fight with that. Cause again, this damn, cultural training, and also my, that you got to earn the fun first. Productive. You can't go for a hike until you've done your to-do list, right? Yeah. So I realized, like, even though, like, I know it, I still see how much I fight it. Like, it's just so ingrained. But it's just, I realize when I do implement that, when I really just say, okay, let me just do something on my list that I love, right? It makes such a difference. Like, something else gets liberated. And it's like, why can't I trust that more often? Right? Yes. It's still, why do I still fight that when I've lived the difference, right?
Yes. Yeah. I totally get it. I have the same thing. Yeah.
I'm curious, as we're talking about this, coming back to the piece, the topic of disappointment, just wondering if maybe we can help the listeners, but I don't know if what's coming up to share is maybe you can mention something, Geoff, if you have an idea about how people can use their disappointment, and how the journey for you, I don't know why it's coming up just to ask you, but like how that, how that is interwoven in your life, the theme of disappointment, and how deep it can be, and how it's to give people some perspective on how they can work through that, or where they can begin, just so that, it feels important.
Yeah. So, I might be a good person to ask, because I'm in a way, like, wildly emotional. Like, it's so extreme that it's not very practical. So I've had to get practical about that process in order to have any hope of being happy at all. And I really believe that's my honest
sounds about
answer.
right, yeah.
And I really believe
that.
Well, clearly you just haven't had the right mindset, Geoff.
Yeah, exactly, right. So I find that like the care, the love, it runs in me so deep. Like, and what I notice is that the more something matters to someone, and I do believe this about others, but it's at least true about myself. So if you're listening and you think it's not for me, okay, you can have that. But at least for me, like the more I care, the closer it is to my heart, like the worse reaction I'm going to have to any kind of thing that doesn't play out like perfectly to my hopes. Mm-hmm. So like I'll have some longing, like, I mean, even 10 years ago, or maybe it was a little more, something like that. I was in Canada, I live in Netherlands now. And I was into meditation and stuff, and I got this insight and then this longing to share it with others and to help others and be a coach and break through and all this stuff. And then as soon as I went to put it into action, I think I gave myself something ridiculous, like, well, I better have be making lots of money and have this figured out in 3 months. And right away, it was like, no, that didn't happen. And ouch. And then like the very next thing that I noticed was, actually, I didn't really care. And I was like, what's that about? And I had to like over and over again, I've noticed that my heart, like it'll get hurt, or it's probably my mind and expectations getting hurt. And then it'll like burying a treasure under the ocean floor. It's like those emotions, they just, of disappointment and hurt feelings and not knowing how to be with that, it just buries the desire. And then I'm just a bit numb.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I wanted this, but yeah, not so into it anymore. Not so whatever, And then over time, it would kind of either erupt again, or I'd go digging around in the ocean floor, like, what's that about? Why don't I care about this? And I'd find out, because I heard. And it would just be like all over again, the disappointment. And then I'd find the longing in it, because I feel a sense of, like Lara said earlier, a sense of caring, a sense of peace, and a sense of, it would just be really nice. Like, not a lot of pressure. Pressure doesn't work. But it would just be really nice if I took this one gentle step in the direction of my desire. And even that can be extremely vulnerable. And then what happens at that step? I would get disappointed again, even if it was successful, because I was trying to find even what I wanted. Like if I coached a group of people and then they were happy, and then I was like, fuck, that wasn't it, And I'd be like, and then the disappointment would happen and I wouldn't feel the desire to work. Yeah, that's it. I don't think I like working with people. That's not for me. And then later it would come up again, like, it is for me. I was just super disappointed. Ouch. And maybe this next step is okay. And being able to tolerate getting hurt get my feelings hurt over and over again, and be really nice to myself and take baby steps in the direction that I want, has turned out to be like the smartest and only thing that works for me, and like my perfect path. So for me, disappointment is like part of the territory of my purpose. Like, it's going to be trial and error. My mind's going to set up dumb expectations. My wishes are real. My disappointments will feel like tragic, like really, it's not so tragic, but the reaction will be tragic, and then it'll just bury my desire, and I have to go in and kind of find out what's there, be honest, and take another step. So that's how I felt like answering your question now.
Yeah, it's really clear, and it explains why this topic is so good for this call, because we all have something really special to contribute to this. And I was, for some reason, say you're the king of disappointment.
Yeah, it feels like it.
But in a good way. I mean, a lot of potential there,
Something that stands out for me, Geoff, is when you were talking about the numbness, or like the part all of a sudden when like, oh, I don't really care about this, right?
Yeah.
And how that's an important. It's important to get curious about that, right? Be like, wait a minute, something's here now, and how that can be like a little red indicator light. Mm-hmm. When we get into the place of like where, I don't care about this anymore, go,
what's that? I
need to go check under the hood now.
Yeah.
Right, and it makes me think of what Marcy, what you were saying about like, embodying frustration. It's like, wait, there was disappointment here. What does that feel like? Like, can I let myself go through it? I don't have to understand like, that person did this, then that, and like why I was disappointed, but actually the feeling qualities in my body, let myself feel it, the disappointment, just like what you did shared that so beautifully, Marcy. But how that connects to what you were saying, Geoff, of like the numbness,
Yes.
the like not caring is the time to do what Marcy was just sharing, is to go into like, oh, wait a minute, there's something here. There's like maybe anger. There could, right? That like, why? Could be even, might even be anger towards others that we see who are, well, how come they got their shit together, right?
Yeah.
There can be so many things. Yeah.
And you're right, Lara, disappointment does often express itself in anger, in complaint, in comparison, in criticism. You could complain, and I hear people do it about why don't more people want what I have to offer? But really what you're saying is, I have a desire that was frustrated. Or you could say, why is everyone else selling and I can't? But what you're saying is, I want to work with more people. Like, the complaint is another one of these like expressions of disappointment that hasn't yet been empowered to mobilize you.
Yeah. It was exactly.
I think that was key. I think when you're nailing it when you the reminder about how it's a cover, like the numbness, the not caring, like the defense is I'll shut off the desire, right?
Yes.
And I'm glad you named it, because just needing that reminder, because I think, God, I'm sure we all, to know that. And it's been so subtle, right? Like it never occurred to me, I mean, before working with you, of course, Geoff, but I just wasn't connecting the dot. Like suddenly something, I had all this passion, right? Like I remember when I did the first circle with the highly sensitive women in spring, I was just, this is it, this passion, there was zero doubt. And then, after a couple of weeks, the 12 weeks ended, and then, some other difficulties got in the way. And then all of a sudden I'm like, that passion's not really there anymore. Right? I didn't think about how sneaky the defenses are, right? Like there had been some disappointment here, some disappointment there, but and then suddenly it's like, oh, maybe I should move in this direction, right? It's just so important to realize this mechanism that gets triggered about covering the desire. I love your analogy, or the burying that treasure under the ocean.
Yeah, actually, I feel like I really needed this for myself today, because I feel a bit disconnected to my own desire and what I was like, wow, for just some time now. So yeah, okay. I need to feel it in my body.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ocean floor bearing the treasure chest with all the disappointments. There's a perfect analogy, and then having to dig it back up, but not wanting to dig it back up, just to feel the disappointment again before getting to the desire, and then only to fear having the disappointment happening. These can be very big things, topics.
The only thing you actually feel is that, oh, but I don't feel the passion. Oh,
yeah,
I don't care, and it's like, oh, so
well, we make this trade-off, I guess, right? Where, well, we don't feel the passion, but at least we don't have to feel the disappointment. And then it becomes the fear of disappointment. And somebody mentioned it earlier on the call with, I think it was you, Beert. Oh, I don't remember. But, when is I think it was you, where your friend or somebody, when the desire grows bigger than the fear of not showing up.
Yes.
But it's this trade, and that perceived fear of having to feel the disappointment again. And I think you mentioned earlier, Lara, or maybe it was just before the call, but you mentioned about this feeling it again. And it's not so bad when you actually allow yourself to feel it, but if you're resisting wanting to feel it, then it becomes very big. And then that can prevent you from actually ever accessing your desire again, or at least can take a long time. And that's painful, it's extremely painful and difficult, because you're not living the life that you really want.
You're already not living it. Yeah, but I love that you bring it up, because it's something I've heard before, described as preemptive disappointment.
Yeah.
So instead of taking a step and getting disappointed, I have a desire, and then I say, well, that'll never work. And now I'm disappointed in advance, but it hurts less than really connecting with my desire and maybe getting disappointed. But all the facts are, and again, this is mindset stuff, there's a quote in the 4-Hour Workweek, good book by Tim Ferriss, and an IBM, maybe it's a CEO or something, someone in the leadership group has a quote and says, like, if you want to double your rate of success, double your rate of failure. So really, like, if you're taking steps in the direction of your heart's desire, if you're taking those steps, even if you're failing and getting disappointed, something in you is maturing, some magical law of attraction process is happening, some very real human learning is certainly happening, and you are getting better. And the preemptive disappointment prevents you from having that success because it's trying to protect your heart from feeling disappointed. So it's this weird thing where it feels like, oh, I'm not missing out, but actually you're missing out on the very failure that would add up to your success.
Yes.
In the worst case, and in the best case, you're going to succeed right away. Like, so either way, it's just better to take the step. I
think I just want to bring one point in what you're just saying, and I think we talked about it on this call, but I think that so much of also, our society is built on so much consumerism. It's all like very speedy and everything needs to happen fast. And we need to have measure, like, how can we get to success quick? Like steps 1, 2, 3, all the rest of it, and law of attraction, all the rest of it. And we forget that in order, just like you described in that book, is in order to get success, we need to go through feeling our failures and disappointments, especially if you have a big theme there in your life as a thread throughout your life. I think for everyone, I don't know if I can speak for everyone, but I imagine, and that's, again, what comes up to share is that's almost impossible to do on your own, because if you hold back and you really, lock that treasure chest, don't want to open it up again, don't want to move out, don't want to go outside of your comfort zone, you're not going to open up to feeling those parts, and then you're not going to get the success either. It's both, it works both ways. So it's very important. I think this topic is very important to share.
It can be really helpful to have like outside eyes and outside people and outside influences to interrupt our deepest habits. And all of these things we're talking about are these embodied habits of protection. It's hard to break that alone. So other people can make it way easier. Yeah. Because they don't have your habits. They're looking at you going, what was that? And then they can ask a question.
Yeah.
Well, I think that covers it for today. I think we nailed it with this disappointment topic. Any last words before we head into closing this podcast call?
I just wanted to share, it's like just coming really strongly to me, and it seems like far out because we're talking about disappointment, but I just need to say this as well, because what my experience is really, because it's not always disappointment, it's very often it's not when you are on the right track. It's like, and this is really, I trust this, and when I make one step in the right direction, I get so much help for the next 10 steps. It's like I'm being lifted. That's also really a huge part of the process. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So. I love that you said that, because we could paint a pretty grim picture of following your path with the conversation we just had.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good piece.
No, it's true. I mean, I wouldn't have had the power to keep going if it literally was disappointment after disappointment. It's just the disappointments, they hurt sometimes.
And they are part of it. So
yeah, they're part of it.
Yeah.
But if you're listening or watching, don't psych yourself out. It's not all disappointment and failure.
But it is an important ingredient.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
okay,
absolutely. And different people have different mixes. I personally think my path has more disappointment and failure than some people who they go like a wonder child. They try the first time and then everyone loves them and all the successes. It's like, I don't have that path. I have a different one. So there's a personal variation, but either way, it's still a theme you have to master.
It's like we're a special club.
Yeah.
Yes, join the disappointment.
It's not the breakfast club; it's the disappointment club.
Yeah. We eat breakfast while crying.
Yeah, we eat disappointment for breakfast.
We love it.
There we go. Well, let's go around and hear from everybody where you can find out more about us if we want to be discovered by you, because we don't even know that's for sure yet. But let's take our chances. Birte, where can people find out more about you if they want to, or see you again if they need to?
Yeah, well, again, I think I would say you can find me on the next podcast.
Excellent.
I don't have. I'm from Norway, so I don't. My podcast. No, my website is in Norwegian. So if you're Norwegian, then it will be better, easier to contact me. So.
Are you going to have that link in the description, or maybe next time?
Well, next time.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. I love it. How about you, Lionel? How can people find you if they want to know more?
Well, if you're disappointed, you can find me for one-on-one sessions at my website at www.lionelfrancis.com.
Perfect. Thank you. And you, Marcy?
Yeah, I have a link below that'll take you to a page where you can download my free guide on the hidden gifts of sensitivity.
Perfect. And you, Lara?
Yes. Well, you can click on the link below to my website. I have I've been doing some online events. Little brief, there's some different lengths and different types of immersions, but I also work with people live. So touch and body work, embodiment, as in live meaning in person. Yeah,
so if people are in the Netherlands, they can probably easily get to you in person. And if they're further away, maybe they want to consider the online option.
Yeah. So my events page lists all the ways that you can find out more.
Perfect. And for me, you'll be able to find more of me on this channel. I presume if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to this somewhere else, then the YouTube channel is Geoff Newton. And I'll put a link in the description as well with any way that you can register for the newsletter, so you have access to all the podcasts, updates about when they're happening, any lives I'm doing, and that you can also work with me if you want to. So that'll be in the description. We thank you so much for joining us. It's been our absolute pleasure, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.